Okay, most of you should know what is a trigo function look like. So for example, I can give you a trigo function like y equal to sin 2x. Or I can give you y equal to 3 cos 1 minus x. Okay, or I can give you y equal to tangent 2x plus 1 take away 5. So all these are called trigo function. When you talk about trigo, you will see sin, cos, and tangent. So I just want to ask you, what do you understand by the one in the sin, the one in the cos, and the one in the tangent? How do you view this thing? What is it actually? Yes, they are angles. They are angles, correct? So if they are angles, what is the unit of measurement for angles that you know? Degree. So angles all are measured in degree. Am I right? So like we have 30 degrees. But in calculus, for calculus, all angles must be measured in radian. So please take out your graphic calculator and change all your mode for the angle to be in radian. So do you know how to convert from degree to radian? Go, press the button mode. Okay, got it? Select radian. Yep, then put enter. Okay, so now you must know how to convert. Usually we will give you the angle in radian, but sometimes if you give you in degree, then how are you going to convert it into radian? So we have to know the relationship. So the relationship between the measurement in radian and degree will be pi radian. That means pi means 3.142, okay? Is equal to 180 degrees. So from today onward, I will state most of the angle in terms of pi. So when I state the angles in terms of pi, it means that it is in radian. For example, I give you an angle which is pi by 3 radian. So this means it's 60 degrees. Okay? Do you know how I get 60 degrees? I take pi by 3 divided by pi times 180. So I got 60 degrees. So if I give you in degree, 90 degrees is how many radian? So I take 90 divide by 180, then I times pi. So the key is from here. Got it? So I got pi by 2 radian. So now all angles, I will measure it in terms of pi. That means it will be in radian. Or I can just give you a number. Pi is 3.142. So if I give you 3 radian, that means it's less than 90 degrees. So you have to get that kind of sense of angles in terms of radian. Got it? Okay. That is the basic idea of trigo. Then what does sin, cos, and tangent means? What is the meaning of sin, cos, and tangent? And do you know the true facts? Why? Have you ever asked your teacher why sin of any angle? The value, highest is 1, lowest is -1. Have you asked your teacher why? Do you know why? These are the things that about trigo that you have to bear in mind. True facts about sin of an angle and cos of an angle. Don't care how big the angle is. It will not go beyond 1. It will not go below -1. Same go with cos. Do you have this in mind when you learn trigo? But for tangent, it will go infinity and -infinity. But the angle cannot be pi/2, 3 pi/2, and so on. So this will be the vertical asymptote for tangent. Why? Have you ever thought of that? Yes, Dixon? Are you holding a calculator or are you holding a, yeah. Thank you. Just want to confirm. Why? Have you ever think of why? I know true facts. If I give you sin of an angle, you give me is 2, then I know it. If I say sin of an angle equal to, for example, if I ask you to solve. For example, I ask you to solve. Solve sin 2x plus 3 equal to 0. So you have sin 2x equal to -3. I will straight away write down no solution because of this true fact. Why is it like that? Why is it like that? Have you ever think of that? Why sin of an angle will never be more than 1 and less than -1? You learn in year 7 or year 8. Why the graph? Why the graph? Why the circle? So now you have to understand that trigo is totally a different topics of maths, different branch of maths. So they have different definition. Although they involve algebra, the angle, but it's totally different. So we have to learn the new sets of rules. So the first new set of rules that you learn in your year 8 will be trigo ratio. How do you spell ratio? R-A-T-I. Oh, correct, ratio. That means the other class I spelled wrongly. Okay, trigo ratio. Do you know what is trigo ratio? when you learn trigo ratio, the first thing that your teacher will draw is what type of triangle? Right angle triangles. Correct? So then they will mark down. Now, when you talk about trigo ratio, angle is very important, correct? So we mark down which angle am I going to talk about? If I'm going to talk about this angle. So in a right angle triangle, which is the longest side? Hypotenuse is the longest side. The one that is opposite the angle, we call it the opposite side. So angle is very important. Where is the angle? Which angle are you talking about? And the one that beside the angle, we call it the adjacent. So how mathematicians define sin of an angle? Is a ratio of the opposite over hypotenuse. So can this value be more than 1? No, because hypotenuse is the longest. So it's definitely less than 1. So when is sin of an angle equal to 1? When the opposite and the hypotenuse is of the same length. Am I right? So that means when the angle is like that, this is the opposite, this is also the hypotenuse, and this is the base. So the angle here is not pi by 2. Please don't use 90 degrees, okay? So the opposite and the hypotenuse are of the same length. That's why we say sin pi by 2 is equal to 1. When the hypotenuse and the adjacent are of the same, so the angle here will be 0. So that's why the sin 0 is equal to 0. That is the definition. You cannot ask me why. It's the way they define. Here, the angle start to turn from here. Are you clear? Okay. Can I move to the next one? Cos of an angle, how they define? Adjacent over hypotenuse. That is the reason why cos 0 is equal to 1. Because the adjacent and the hypotenuse is of the same length. And cos pi by 2, the adjacent is 0 and the hypotenuse. So that's why it's equal to 0. Logic? So that is the definition of trigo. Can you change? You can't. Unless you change the whole topic of trigo and people accept your changes. So that's why a lot of math things is like that. People have find that this is useful and they define it, and we just have to follow the rule first. Okay, then the one that is talking about tangent. As the angle become bigger, as the angle become bigger, okay, your theta change from 0 to pi by 2 radian. What happened to the adjacent side? Here, adjacent equal to hypotenuse, correct? It changed to here, adjacent becomes 0, correct? So when we talk about tangent, is opposite over adjacent, correct? So adjacent becomes 0. So tangent pi by 2 is equal to opposite, which is the same as the hypotenuse, divided by 0. So is it defined? Something divided by 0, is it defined? So it's undefined. So that's why the angle cannot be pi by 2 for tangent. So have I explained all? This trigo ratio, you learn it in your year 8 or year 7. That is how it's defined. We just have to follow. Then why got -1 come in? Why sin and cos of an angle can be negative also? Yes, because there is another way they define any angle that is more than 90 degrees. Because in a right angle triangle, the angle cannot be more than 90. Am I right? So now they go by, draw a unit circle. Unit circle, that means the radius of the circle is 1 unit. And they start the angle 0 here. So the angle will be 0 radian at this point. So they turn anti-clockwise. So this is a point P. So this is the angle formed. The radius is 1 unit. P is X and Y, the coordinates. So this is Y, this is X. Correct? Hello? Am I right? So now, if you look at the triangle, sin of an angle is equal to definition opposite over hypotenuse, correct? So this is equal to Y. So that means from here, we make a conclusion. They make a conclusion like that. The Y coordinates of any point that lie on this circle represent sin of the angle. So the X will represent the cos of the angle. So if you look at the coordinates of this point, how do you read this coordinate of this point? 1 what? 1, 0. So therefore, we have cos 0 equal to 1. Sin 0 equal to 0. See or not? Are you okay? So far? So now, if the angle turn until here, this is 90 degrees, correct? So that means the angle here will be pi by 2, am I right? So this point, how we read the coordinates? 0, 0, 1. So that is the reason why cos pi by 2 is equal to 0. Sin pi by 2 is equal to 1, because the Y coordinates of any points that lie on this circle represent the sin of that angle. Are you okay? So if you look at the point, if the point is here in the second quadrant, we call this first quadrant, we call this second quadrant. That means when it says second quadrant, the size of the angle is between pi by 2 and pi. Understand? So you look, this point, the x coordinate will be negative, am I right? The y coordinate will be more than 0, am I right? So that's why in this quadrant, the cos of the angle will be negative. The sin of the angle will be positive. Same go with the other quadrant. That is the definition. You just have to follow. That's why your teacher teach you how to memorize, correct? How your teacher teach you how to memorize? Add sugar to the coffee. I prefer the other one. All science teachers are clever. There are some say all science teachers are crazy. I modify it. I say all science teachers are clever. Don't you all feel not good with that? All science teachers are crazy. You are taught by crazy people. How can you be good? So just have to put it, all science teachers are clever. The one all means all the sin, cos, and tangent all are positive if the angle is between 0 and pi by 2. If the angle is between pi by 2 and pi, only sin will give you a positive value. The cos will give you a negative value and the tangent will give you a negative value. So from this definition, then the smallest value for cos will be -1. The smallest value for sin also will be -1 because it won't go out. The coordinate x and y for this circle will not go beyond these two values. You get me? That is how it's defined. So this is something that you have learned in your year 8 or year 9, I don't know. Okay? So whenever we need to use this, I will just go through thoroughly with you. Can or not? So these are the basic trigo things that you have learned. So if you want to find the size of the angle, you go to your graphic calculator, you use sin inverse. Am I right? So that one, all you know. Okay, any question on that? I'm going to teach you how to differentiate it now. No first principle, okay? Can I? So I just make sure you understand all this first. You get the correct idea of all this. So the important thing that you have to remember is this. True fact. True facts about sin and cos. Because we are going to use this very intensely. Okay, so now we want to talk about differentiation of trigo. Shall we? So those come from independent school, they are very good in trigo. But I cannot teach like I'm a professional because a lot of people are not very good in trigo. Am I right? Okay, so now first rule. If I give you y equal to, you see, those are, where is Dixon? All still like professional. They are the coach of my class. So that's why during exam, they cannot play. You still don't learn from your SAT 2, SAT 3. You see the result that you all give me. You still don't want to write down the important things. Okay, if I give you y equal to, never mind, continue. I'm yet to see your SAT 4. Okay, if I give you a function, a number times by sin of an angle, I put it as a function also. Okay, so when I differentiate, it's like that. Okay, the formula will be, you differentiate sin, you get cos. You write down the angle. Then after that, you have to multiply with the derivative of the angle. Clear? So that is the first formula you have to remember and get used to it. So the changes is that. That's how it being done. Okay, I don't want to prove it to you by using first principle. Okay, so now if I give you, for example, I say, given y equal to 2 sin 3 minus x, find dy dx. Remember, dy dx is rate of change or gradient function. Okay, start. Apply the formula. Joshua, right. Okay. Done. So I have write down the 2. Sin become cos. Write down the angle. Done. Time by the derivative of negative x is -1. So the answer is -2 cos 3 minus x. Got it? Can? So straight away memorize. So that is when you have this. Okay. Then next one. Second one. If I give you y equal to a number times by cos of an angle, so this one, we have to be very careful, especially when you talk about trigo, you have to be very careful. You differentiate cos, you got negative sin. Open bracket, write down the angle, close, time by the derivative of the angle. So that is the formula. So now let me give you an example. Given y is equal to 5 cos 1 over x. Take away sin 3x. Find dy over dx. Okay, are you done? Okay, remember 1 over x is x to the power negative 1. Right? So why I need to write that? Because I need to differentiate the angle. So therefore, my dy dx will be the first one. You differentiate cos, you got negative sin. Write down the angle. Time by the derivative of the angle. Still remember how to differentiate this? Multiply by the power. Power take away 1. All right? Take away. Derivative cos sin will be cos 3x. Write down the angle. Derivative for 3x is 3. Am I right? Okay, so this one, 5 times negative 1 is negative, negative become positive, so it's 5. X to the power negative 2 will be over x squared sin 1 over x minus 3 cos 3x. Right? Okay? Okay. So there is a second one. Huh? So the next one. Are you done? Done, everyone? Okay. Let's go to the next one, the third one. Okay, for this third one, there are a lot of things I want to introduce to you to teach you. So if I give you y equal to tangent x, I'm not going to give you the formulas first, because I'm going to teach you a lot of things from here. If I give you y equal to tangent x, so now I want to introduce to you, anytime we have tangent x, we can write it as a ratio of sin x divided by cos x. That is the meaning of tangent x. It's sin x divided by cos x. Understand? So now, if I change this to sin x divided by cos x, then I have to use quotient rule. So can you please try to use quotient rule and differentiate? You still remember your quotient rule? V u prime minus u v prime over v squared. Okay, please apply. And I'm going to teach you to simplify a lot of things here. These are under trigo property. Wait. Okay, now when I differentiate, listen here. V u prime, am I right? Minus u v prime. You differentiate cos, you got negative sin. Am I right? Divided by bottom square. Okay, so this one I will have cos x, because cos x and cos x, so I have cos x squared. Negative times negative, I will have positive. Sin x times sin x, I will have sin x, the whole thing squared. Divide by cos x, the whole thing squared. Okay, so I'm going to go. If I write it here, I hope you can see. Now look, Whenever we write in trigo, listen, cos x, the whole thing squared, we usually write it like this. We put the square here. So that is the first thing you have to take note. If you are not comfortable with this, but you have to remember, this means this. That's the first thing. Second thing that you have to remember is in trigo is very funny thing, correct? It play you, it trick you. Okay, sin of an angle square plus cos of any angle, same angle square, the result is always 1. So this is something that you have to remember. As long as these two angles are the same, and as long as here is a plus, the result will be 1 and it must be squared. So you can simplify that. So if I give you a question, I say y equal to sin square phi x plus cos square phi x. So what is the dy dx? The answer is equal to 0 because this is equal to 1. You see or not? So trigo, there's a lot of way to simplify. I will introduce to you one by one. So today, remember this. So now I can simplify this as 1 over cos x squared. And in trigo, if you have 1 over cos of an angle, you can write it with another symbol that is secant, SEC, secant x. If you say secant, it means 1 over cos. So a lot of things you have to write it down. You have to follow. That is how people write. It's exactly like in your English. How do you spell put? P-U-T. You cannot change. You see? So this one, we will write it as secant square x. So over here, I purposely ask you to differentiate so that you know all this. So now I can throw you with the formula. So this is also an important formula. If I give you y equal to a number times by tangent of an angle. So when I differentiate this, I don't have to go through the quotient rule. That will make me crazy. So how I do it? I will have secant square fx times by f prime x. Are you clear? So this is the formula. So let's try one question. And after that, during our lecture, I will give you very, very funny question. Given, so you have 1 hour free, you better memorize all this. Given y equal to 6x minus 3 tangent e to the power x. Okay, start to find dy dx. 6x, you get 6. So whatever you have learned about the differentiation, you also have to bear in mind. I can mix. So this will be 6. Take away 3. You differentiate tangent, what do you get? Second sec squared e to the power of x. If you don't like what you can do, you can write and whole thing squared. Understand? You can write like that. If you don't want to write, okay, then time by, what is the derivative of e to the power x? E to the power x times 1, right? So that. So trigger is how much, how many formula can you remember? How many symbol can you remember? And how are you going to play around with it? You want to do trigger quick? Don't shake your head. Don't complain.